Most online businesses take a Me Too approach. They simply copy others and have nothing unique about their business. So, how do you go about finding something that makes your business stand out? Keep watching to find out. In today's episode of E-Commerce Heroes, I'll be talking to Travis Romine about differentiation, finding something unique about your business that sets it apart from your competitors. Travis is an e-commerce growth consultant at Sharp Commerce. This month's videos are sponsored by Informed.co, the new name for App Eagle, an analytics and repricing tool for Amazon sellers. So, Travis, let's start at the beginning. What are the dangers of just selling on Amazon?
Okay, so the dangers of selling on Amazon. In short, you're giving Amazon a lot of control over your revenue and your sales. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. And you've got to remember that Amazon is not accountable to you. They can do whatever they want. They can kick you off. They can decide to compete against you. They also know where you get a lot of your products. You have to submit, for getting on Amazon, you've got to submit which vendors you're getting stuff from, or manufacturers. So there's a lot of different elements, but those are kind of the big ones. Putting all your eggs in one basket, it's a scary thing.
Okay, and as you said there, putting all your eggs in one basket, a way that sellers are nearly always advised to get around that is to sell on multiple channels. But can a seller's own web store really compete with Amazon? And if so, how can they make sure that they're doing that?
Okay. So competing with Amazon, that sounds kind of crazy, I know, to a lot of you out there. And in general, I mean, Amazon is, a David and Goliath kind of thing compared to your web store typically, even large web stores, because Amazon's so crazy huge. The thing is, you want to, really realize what you're competing against. You're competing against Amazon, which is this huge vanilla machine. And you have the ability to customize your store, customize your voice with your brand, the way that you're interacting with customers, instead of, the shotgun approach that Amazon has in general, the way they present products, the way they talk to their customers, for the most part, is pretty vanilla. And you can do a much better job of, engaging your customers with the right brand voice, and designing, product pages that are robust, providing all that extra media on there, that Amazon doesn't necessarily have. You can beef it up with a lot of your own custom videos and things like that, even if you sell on Amazon, you don't need to provide there. You provide all that stuff on your own website to have some advantages. And that's kind of just the tip of the iceberg, but there's some stuff there.
Okay, and I think maybe what some of the sellers that are watching this might think is that, they're competing with Amazon. They've taken the very logical steps that you've just laid out to compete with Amazon. But the other problem is that isn't everybody who's got their own web store doing the same thing? So how can sellers not only compete with Amazon, but also make sure that they're setting themselves apart from their competitors?
Oh, that's a great way to say that. Yeah. So when you're competing with Amazon, really you are competing with your competitors. A lot of the same tactics are gonna apply to just competing in general with your other competitors. So be the authority on what you're selling, right? Like I said, have killer product information, and besides just having the product information and robust, videos where you're, unboxing or application even, right? So that's a little more advanced than most of the sellers are doing out there. But if you really own it, and you're owning that category, you want to make sure that you actually go through and apply, depending on the product, you can have some application videos, of how people can use this product and the success they should be having with it, and give them a ton of information, like sort of real world experience with the product. Also, I'll give you a quick example that I like. Chuck over at Sweetwater.com. Those guys are doing roughly $1 million a day, just kicking butt out there in the pro audio world, music instruments, stuff like that. He does a great job of really owning the space and getting in front of his customers. I mean, literally, his head is on the front of the catalog, and he's built a crazy empire around that. Really getting in touch with the customers, speaking to them in a way that they are going to really engage with, and also he's got one of their kind of claims to fame is they've got this crazy campus where they've set up all these recording, a recording studio or two, that are super high end, and they get to test out all the equipment and give really in-depth reviews in the videos, kind of like I was talking about. And it's really paid off for those guys. A couple other things, you can, offering the latest and greatest products. If customers are going to count on you for what's new, that's a lot of value to the customer. And you can do that. Amazon's they'll be second to the plate. That's usually a secondary marketplace for a lot of the really top sellers that have powerful websites. Not in all cases, but that's certainly definitely a good way that you can add value to the customer experience, and be more of an authority. And adding value with intelligent recommendations and bundles is another really good way to do that. AI, artificial intelligence is a big thing with recommendations right now. But if you're really owning the space, go in there and hand pick and manually associate items that are going to be a really great recommendation. And then also, if you can, put a staff comment on there that says, hey, I've used this together, this works great together, whatever, especially on high-end products where the AOV is, $500 or more.
And are there any other examples of companies that you've seen have big success in terms of both competing with Amazon and setting themselves apart with their own web store?
Sure. I got a couple. Okay, Bombas. If you guys have ever heard of Bombas, they're a sock company. A couple of guys wanted to make a better sock. And what they did is they really put themselves out in front of the brand, like I've been talking about. And they've actually got a two-prong approach that is really powerful, that kind of sets them apart and makes them a compelling brand, and place where you want to buy socks, which seem boring, but they kind of make it exciting, as much as you can with socks. And so they've actually created a better sock, got rid of the seam in the front for the toe reinforcement, some other things with like an elastic band around the arch, which is pretty cool. I actually bought a pair. They're legit. They're great socks. Little market research there. And so they've got that. And then the other side of it is they give an extra pair, like Tom's. They'll give an extra pair to charity when you buy a pair. So it makes you feel good. Consumers like that, and that's big these days. So that's one example. Really strong brand mission with those guys, and they're getting out in front of it. Diesel Power Products. These guys really set themselves apart in a different way. So they are a service-based product, a B2C seller, and they sell auto parts for diesel trucks. Basically, it's modifications. And so, if you've got the big crazy diesel truck, you want to beef it up with high-end exhaust or just high performance parts in general. That's what those guys, that's the market that they're serving. Now, the way that those guys set themselves apart is they've got a killer sales force. That application is a really big part of the sales process. And customers are doing a ton of research, especially in that category, to try to figure out what's going to work for their car. And then having somebody, that's really well-versed in the product is able to, sets them apart. People are calling them all the time to try to figure out, is this going to work with my vehicle? And then how is that going to affect my vehicle? So there's two big questions there. And their sales staff is able to, knock it out of the park with those kind of questions. And then you're able to close the sale. There's people selling on Amazon, not doing nearly as well because, they don't have that support. And they don't have that, that tech knowledge. So anyway, that's kind of a way those guys are setting themselves apart with the sales knowledge and the high end, support there. I've got one more.
No, carry on, Travis, carry on.
Yeah. So I've got one more for you. If I've got time. Beard Brand. A friend of mine, Eric Bandholtz. He actually started his website from a blog, his e-commerce business, which is pretty lucrative now. He started from a blog, making a connection with his audience. I don't know if you know Eric, but he's the Beard Brand guy. Again, out in front of the brand, and really owning that space. He's got this crazy wild beard and kind of cool wavy hair, and he really makes a great connection with his customer. He knows how to talk to them. And it's really paid off for him. Again, he started with the blog and then, brought on the e-commerce store, started making his own product. He's been on Shark Tank. Now he's got, international distribution. And he's even recently, he's in Target. So anyway, that's those are some kind of ways that, I know of a few different companies that I've either worked with or been associated with that have really, moved forward by getting in front of the brand and really owning their space.
And so just to kind of clarify those examples for our readers, in terms of a seller has their web store, they've set it up in the way following the tips that you've said, how can they stop a competitor just simply copying exactly what they've done?
Okay, right. So what's going to stop somebody from spinning up a Shopify store and just, sort of regurgitating your store back into theirs? Yeah, that's an ugly thing, and it happens all the time. So really the biggest thing point I have for that is to make sure you have a clear differentiator, which is a very difficult question, and something back when I had my e-commerce business was difficult for me to answer. And even I was very successful, but I didn't have a clear differentiator. And I'm not talking about, we've got great customer service or, we ship orders out fast. Those days are over. That doesn't differentiate you at all. That's an expectation now. Especially like we were talking about with Amazon, that's fast shipping is expected, and that's a big thing for customers. But the differentiator, that's the biggest thing. You need to figure that out. And that will, if you have something that's unique to you that other people can't duplicate, then it's going to be much difficult. You'll have more of a barrier to market entry for competitors, setting up a Shopify site and copying you.
And I mean, you've mentioned differentiating yourself there, Travis. And my final question for you is, if someone has watched this video and they've really brought into the idea that they need to differentiate themselves, what are the first 3 steps that they should take towards achieving that differentiation?
Okay. Figuring out the differentiator is very difficult, and it can take some time. You may get lucky and it may be really obvious to you, or you may already have one. That's great. Refine it, use it. However, here's what I would recommend. First, do a SWOT analysis, basic marketing, 101, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and analyze your market, who you're, what you're doing right now, what makes your business strong. And hopefully you kind of cross that with, what the strengths of your business and what is meaningful to your customer. And then figure out what's going to be hard to emulate. So your strengths, what's meaningful to your customer, and what's hard to, recreate or emulate from a competitor standpoint. Then you're kind of on the right track. Then weigh all that out, figure out that what that key element is going to be for you, for your business, kind of tease that out. It's a very difficult job. And take some time with it, make sure you get it right, because that's sort of the nucleus, of your business. Once you figure that out, then a lot of other things are going to go from that sort of, it's kind of part of your branding, but also that, that's the seed for your branding, really the differentiator. And you may even have to like tangent or kind of pivot your business a little bit to kind of hit, really nail that differentiator. So finally, if you are having trouble figuring out your differentiator, it's okay to get some help. And there's e-commerce retailers that are great at what they do, and they know their product, but they may not be great with marketing. Reach out to an agency and get some help if you're having trouble kind of teasing out that differentiator. It'll be well worth your time.
Well, Travis, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, but thank you very much for your advice and for joining me. I'd also like to say a big thank you to this month's video sponsor, Inform.co, previously AppEagle, who provide analytics and repricing tools for Amazon sellers. Finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you again here at Web Retailer for another episode of E-Commerce Heroes. Goodbye.